Welcome to episode 17 of Who Gives a Dram. Alright, so I messed up last week. I said at the end of the episode that this was going to be the St. Patrick's Day episode, and it's not the St. Patrick's Day episode, so I apologize for that. I can't seem to do math anymore, but that's okay, because who needs math? Welcome to another episode 17 of Who Gives a Dram. I'm your host, Connor, and if you're not already, follow the podcast on Instagram at Who Gives a Dram. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. So, I want to say, before we get into the whiskey, and as you can tell, you know what the whiskey is, if you're watching on the video podcast at least. I guess if you're listening, you're going to have to wait a few more minutes. Before I get into the whiskey, I want to say thank you very much to everybody out there who is following me on Instagram. I just hit 1,000 followers a few days ago, and that is just crazy to me. The fact that it hasn't even been 4 months, I don't think. No, it hasn't even been. It's been a little over 4 months. And I got 1,000 people who care about what I got to say on Instagram and look at my posts and interact with my content is really cool. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that. As I explained last week, or maybe it was the week before, I don't remember. One of my goals was I really wanted to hit 1,000 Instagram followers because it's a good launching pad into really getting this show out there and having as many people and having the show reach as many people as it can. So I'm very proud of Who Gives a Dram. I'm very proud of the brand it's becoming. And there's only going to be bigger and better things that are happening from here on out. So seeing the show hit 1,000 followers is a huge inspiration to me, and I hope that I am providing quality content for you guys, because at the end of the day, I do this show not only for my passion for whiskey, but for the people that tune in every week on YouTube, on their phones, on their way into work, maybe sitting down having a dram with me. Seriously, thank you guys so much. Looking through the downloads and everything like that, there's a lot of people outside the United States as well that download the show and listen to the podcast, so that's pretty cool too. I'm pretty sure there's like a few people from Africa and a few people from just like places that I have no business, my name has no business being in, but that's the power of the internet, and it's super cool. I love it. But with that out of the way, I just want to say thank you very much, and it's a great honor to be able to bring this content to you. But with that out of the way, what's going on, everybody? How was everybody's week? I want to get into the whiskey. I'm looking at it right now. We're doing some Jameson this week. Just the quintessential Irish whiskey, the biggest, most popular Irish whiskey. We're going to do that for our episode before St. Patrick's Day. We're doing this this Jameson for today's review, but before we get into that, I do want to hit on something really quick. And again, I don't know if those watching or listening really enjoy me talking about anything other than whiskey, but I do have to talk about this because it's been a topic on the show for a few weeks now, and it just ended, and that's WandaVision. WandaVision season finale happened this past Friday or Saturday. I watched it on Saturday. And I'm not going to get too much into it because I am going to go in detail of my thoughts on the season finale and the show in its entirety on my other podcast, Life in the Basement, with my brother. And I'm also going to hop on the TMD podcast and talk about WandaVision as well. But to sum it up very quickly, very briefly, so we can get into the whiskey, it sucked. The season finale of WandaVision was terrible. And hot take, don't like WandaVision anymore. And we'll keep it at that. If you want to hear my full thoughts and reviews, you can check out Life in the Basement. And you can check out the TMD podcast. Both can be found right through our media website, www.thegrapevinemedia.com. But let's get into the whiskey. Jameson, you know what Jameson is. You know what we're doing with Jameson here. The most popular Irish whiskey in the world. It's the whiskey that starts a lot of whiskey journeys for a lot of people. I'm just gonna go onto their website so we can get what I'm supposed to taste, like we always do. And it's the whiskey that haunts a lot of people's dreams. I'm sure a lot of people have, including not really myself, but I'm sure a lot of people have. Why do they always make you put in your birthday? Like, why does it matter if I'm not 21 if I just want to go to the website? I don't understand it. It should only be if you're gonna buy the whiskey that they make you put in your birthday. That doesn't make sense to me. But I know a lot of people who have very bad stories on Jameson. But Jameson has been the center of a lot of my family get-togethers for as long as I can remember. So I think everybody kind of has a soft spot for Jameson. It's a staple in the whiskey community. It's especially in the Irish whiskey community. If you enjoy Irish whiskey, then you enjoy Jameson. It's just a classic. So we're gonna do a tasting here. I'm gonna get this out of the way a little bit. I'm gonna do a little tasting here with Jameson. The bottle here, it's triple distilled, a smooth Irish whiskey made the John Jameson way since 1780. If you watched last week's podcast, you know that Jameson is not the oldest Irish whiskey. It's actually McConnell's. McConnell's Irish whiskey is technically the oldest Irish whiskey, which is a cool fun fact. There's not really much on the bottle here, but the bottle itself, it's just a classic. It's very simple, very sleek, and it's probably one of the most recognizable logos in the world of alcohol, if I had to guess. Now I don't really drink Irish whiskey neat, and I said that last time. I said it in my first episode when I did the Bushmill 16 year. I don't really drink Irish whiskey neat a lot. It's mostly used for cocktails for me or shots. Jameson has to be the most popular shot whiskey of all time. I would guess. The first legal drink I ever had. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't the first legal drink I ever had. My 21st birthday I spent at Fenway Park, which is a cool story for potentially another episode, but long story short, we got different seats. We were sitting up high, and then by like the third inning, I was sitting on the first row of the first base, right on the first base line. So, cool way to spend your 21st birthday. But that weekend, I went out on a bar crawl with my friends and family, and it was also my uncle's 50th birthday. So I was celebrating my 21st. My uncle was celebrating his 50th, and the first thing I had out legally was a shot of Jameson. And at that point, I wasn't really into whiskey, so it kind of went down tough. But I'm curious to see when I analyze this whiskey on the show here, what the difference is going to be. I'm actually, and to be completely honest, I haven't had Jameson. I don't remember the last time I had Jameson. When I drink Irish whiskey, I'm drinking McConnell's, and I'm drinking next week's whiskey, which I'm not going to give away right now. But if you know me, if you know the podcast, you probably already know what the whiskey's going to be. So, I want to get into, let's see. Yeah, Jameson Irish whiskey. That's what I want to know. No, I don't want Jameson whiskey to use my location. Okay, here we go. I found what I'm supposed to find. All right, so we are going to open this up. I haven't opened this yet. The classic screw top. Let's see if we can get some information on Jameson. No, I want to go to Jameson. Sorry. So professional on this podcast. Jameson, just Wikipedia. Here we go. Let's learn something today. This is still on, right? Let's learn something today. Let's see what we got here. Going on the Jameson Wikipedia page. Jameson is a blended Irish whiskey produced by the Irish Distillers subsidiary of Pernod Ricard, which I believe is a distributor or a supplier, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. I could click on it, but I don't want to go through a rabbit hole. Originally one of the 6 main Dublin whiskies, Jameson is distilled at the New Middleton Distillery in County Cork, which is where my lineage comes from. It is by far the best-selling Irish whiskey in the world. In 2019, annual sales passed 8 million cases. That's a cool fact. 8 million cases is just mind-boggling to think of. I want to say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like I have to say Dwayne "The Rock," his Terramana tequila, I want to say they did like 400,000 cases, and it was the most successful launch of a new spirit since either Proper 12 or George Clooney's tequila, maybe. And that was 400,000. They do 8 million. They did 8 million. It has been sold internationally since the early 19th century and is available to buy in over 130 countries. It's just a huge mega brand. It's essentially got a monopoly on the Irish whiskey community. Plus, with all the varietals, some of my favorite Irish whiskeys are the varietals of Jameson. I was thinking about doing Black Barrel for this episode, but I wanted to stick with the classics. So I might do a head-to-head with Jameson and Jameson Black Barrel in a future episode. Still kind of trying to work out the kinks if I'm going to do that, but regardless, it's something that I've got in my plan book for the podcast. Let's see. Jameson products, in particular, its 18-year and its rarest reserve, have rated very, very highly at international spirit ratings competitions. Yada, yada, yada. In 2018, Jameson 18-year-old Bow Street won Best Irish Blended Whiskey, RRP, of $72 or more at the Irish Whiskey Awards. Okay. That's something I want to... I've seen that Jameson Bow Street retails for about $180, $190, but that's a cask strength Irish whiskey, and that's something that I want to get my hands on. I want to know what a cask strength Irish whiskey tastes like, because coming from the bourbon world, I typically prefer a higher proofed whiskey, in particular a higher proofed bourbon, and to see what a higher proofed Irish whiskey tastes like is something that very much intrigues me. So, all right, well, enough about the history. Let's pour it. Just enough. All right. So Jameson, again, this is a 750 milliliter bottle. It's bottled at 40% alcohol by volume, so 80 proof, just like all Irish whiskeys. I'll keep the cap off. If we're getting into the review here, let's see, move this out of the way a bit. Let me go like that. Color looks the same as most Irish whiskeys. It's very pale, almost blondish. Nothing out of the ordinary, exactly what you'd expect from a 40% Irish whiskey. Let's see here. Oh, don't want to go see that. Let's smell it. All right. Okay, yeah. And again, I haven't had Jameson in a very long time, straight. So, right off the bat, lots of fruit. A lot of fruit, like sweet apple or sour apple almost. Not a whole lot on the nose. And then again, I just opened this bottle, so I haven't really given it time to air a whole lot. But I don't know how much of a difference that's going to make for an 80 proof whiskey. Lots of fruity, sour apple-y notes to it on the nose. That's all I really get. I don't get a whole lot. Unless I have COVID and I don't know it and I can't smell. That wouldn't be good. But yeah, no, I get I don't get a strong nose on this at all. It's actually quite alarming how much I don't smell on this. But when I do smell, it's a lot of sour apple, sour green apple. That's really it. I don't really get a whole lot of sweetness like butterscotch or vanilla that a lot of Irish whiskeys are known for, but I do get that fruity note that I correlate Irish whiskey with the most. But this is like an apple bomb. Let's see what the nose says on the website. The nose just says smooth and mellow. Gee, thanks, Jameson. Thank you for that insightful, thoughtful, well-processed nose that you provided for us. Smooth and mellow. Yeah, it is smooth and mellow. All right. I guess we're rolling solo dolo here. Jameson's not gonna help us out at all. I say green sour apple. Now that I'm kind of shaking it up a bit and letting it sip, I'm getting a little bit of an acetone chemical flavor to it. How old is Jameson? Does this say? Finally, we aged them in oak cask for a minimum of 4 years. It's triple distilled, which means I think what separates Irish whiskey from Scotch the most is they don't distill it with peat, which kind of separates the flavor notes. And I could be wrong by this. I don't know exactly how Scotch is distilled, but I know for a fact that they use peat in one of the distilling processes. So this is all essentially malted barley grain and Irish grains, which is what's giving it its Irish whiskey notes and palates. So that citrus, that sweetness, butterscotch, things like that. It's all based on the distillation process of Irish whiskey. This is triple distilled because, according to the website, we want to, as it gives it its signature smoothness. So basic. All right, so there's the nose. I guess we'll get into the whiskey now. Don't know what to expect. But, again, haven't had Jameson in a while, so I'm excited to drink this with y'all. So cheers to another week on Who Gives a Dram, 17 episodes. It's kind of a big deal. Let's drink. Oh, yeah. There's nothing to it. I'm sorry for the delay in talking. I don't mean for there to be dead space, but I'm kind of flabbergasted right now. This isn't at all as I remember Jameson being. Not to say it's a bad thing, but there's almost nothing to it. I feel like this has already been watered down. Like, I feel like this tastes, if you were to put this on the rocks, let the ice melt, and let the whiskey sit back to room temperature, that's how this tastes. I could be wrong about that. I'm gonna have to finish this thing to get a correct palate. What am I supposed to taste? The perfect balance of spicy, nutty, and vanilla notes with hints of sweet sherry and exceptional smoothness. All right, well, that's better than the nose description that Jameson gave us. I still can't smell anything. I hope I don't have COVID. Okay, the second sip is a bit more. There's no spice. No, I guess there's a tiny bit of spice now that I let it kind of dissipate in my mouth a bit. Never said that sentence structure in my life, dissipate in my mouth. That's like if somebody said that in a sentence to me, like if somebody texted me those words together, I'd probably block them. So I'm sorry for saying that. Dissipate in my mouth. Oh, God. I'm sorry. But the main overarching notes are still the same. I don't get a lot. I got a little bit more from the second sip. I guess a tad bit of spice. It's very smooth. I don't think anyone's arguing that it's very smooth, being it's 40% and it's an Irish whiskey. It tastes like a generic blend of whiskeys put together, proof down to 40% to 80 proof, and mass produced, which is exactly what Jameson is. If anything, that citrus, fruity note stands out forefront. I guess there's a tad bit of spice on the back end. Not much though. Not a whole lot at all. I kind of want to let it sit for another second. Let's see what the varietals are in Jameson. I definitely got to do Black Barrel on this podcast because from what I remember, that's one of my favorites. I have had the Jameson Caskmates IPA edition, and it's not bad. I had that with my cousin Seth and my brother Kale. It might have been New Year's Eve. I don't remember. But we were at Seth's house, and he's a big Jameson guy. So Seth, if you're watching this episode, shout out. Shout out to you. For when I think of Jameson, I think of Seth. Because that's always been his go-to. And we've had arguments in the past about Jameson versus Proper 12. We'll get into that more after maybe next week. Hint, hint. Jameson Caskmates IPA edition. Yeah, I've had that at Seth's, and I actually quite enjoyed it. Very, very smooth, but you actually got a real strong IPA, hoppy, barley taste to it, which I enjoyed. All right, I got to give this one more sip. I actually got to finish this dram, so. Yeah, there's nothing to that. I can't believe I had trouble taking shots of this. This is like, I don't want to say it's whiskey flavored water because I don't want to disrespect Jameson like that because it's a classic. This is the perfect introductory whiskey. It's not going to be a Jim Beam or a Jack Daniels where it has that more of that barrel spice. It has more potent characteristics to them. And it's not going to be a Scotch, which has, whether it's a Johnny Walker Black blended, or if you're going with a single malt Highland, Speyside, Islay, you're going to have characteristics that are particular to each brand, or not brand, but to each section. So the Islas will have their smoky peatiness. The Speyside will have that salty, oceany. The Highlands have a bit more of a sweet, fruity note to them, and then obviously the bourbons and the rye. So this tastes like it is just a blend of typical whiskey flavors, proofed down to make it a mass, to make the brand have mass appeal. Now, if I'm gonna rate this based on what I typically go for, it's not gonna be very high. With that being said, Jameson is a classic. I will always have Jameson on my shelf. I just bought this bottle today. I think it was actually a bit more at the store that I bought it from. It was like $33. You can find this for $25 at other spots, but the liquor store I went to is right down the road from my apartment. So, but if I'm taking all things in consideration, let's say you find this for, say, $30 is MSRP. Everything in consideration of what I like, Connor from Who Gives a Dram, what I like, probably like a 7.6. Something that is easy to sip. No, I don't want, I've already said, it's a tough one. What did I give Sazerac Rye? Because I like Sazerac Rye more than this, but I feel like I gave Sazerac Rye a 7.4. But then again, you got to go with the classic. Yeah, 7.6, because you got to take in the Jameson brand and the respect for the brand. 7.6 for Jameson. Just the basic 80 proof Irish whiskey that everyone's going to enjoy. If someone's looking into getting into whiskey, you start them with Jameson. That's definitely got to be one of the ones you start them with. And I think everybody will enjoy it. I think it's a quality whiskey for everybody. And again, you got to kind of just got to respect the Jameson name. So, but that's going to do it for this episode. Next week is going to be the St. Patrick's Day episode, and I'll have my Irish whiskey, the last Irish whiskey for the Whiskey Takeover on Who Gives a Dram at that time. So tune in next week. Thank you for tuning in this week, however. Again, make sure you're subscribed to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google Podcasts, wherever else I am. I'm everywhere, man. I'm everywhere. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Nick Bossy, Pretty New Diamond's gonna play me out, streaming on Apple Music and Spotify and everywhere else. At Nick Bossy Music on Instagram. And I am gonna go enjoy the rest of my day. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Episode 17. I love you guys. Thank you so much for the support, and I'll catch you next week.
Up in New England, that girl sure loved me. We got together and brought things to life. So I did buy her a pretty new diamond. Ask that sweet woman if she'd be my wife. There was a kind of feeling love songs are made of. With that sweet woman, spend the rest of my life. She came along, I was hurting, but at the end of my tunnel I saw no light. Fast forward a few months later. She broke my heart and I can't keep going. Guess I'll just sit here and get drunk tonight. Vows they meant nothing and she ran to a stranger. And with Johnny Walker I'm passing my time. I asked the Lord, what should I do? But I'm too drunk to hear him tonight. So sit with my bottle while Hank Sr.'s singing. I'm so lonesome I could cry. Gave me back that pretty new diamond and broke my heart a second time. But I got the last laugh when I pawned off her ring, 'cause I bought me a dime bag and a case of Coors Light. I asked the Lord, what should I do? But I'm too drunk to hear him tonight. So sit with my bottle while Hank Sr.'s singing. I'm so lonesome I could cry. So sit with my bottle while Hank Sr.'s singing. I'm so lonesome I could cry.